A couple of key pieces of advice I have for our investors. Number one, stay below the median cost of housing. Very, very important. That differs across the country. In Iowa, it might be $150,000. In California, the median cost is $750,000. In San Francisco, the median is $1.9 million. The bottom line is this: stay below the median cost of housing. To define median, that's median with an N, not an M. Median is half the property sold above that number, half the property sold below that number. That's the definition of median cost of housing. So in the geographical area that an investor works, my suggestion is they stay below the median. That's median cost of housing. That's the housing that is quickest to be absorbed back into the community, the quickest to be sold, the quickest to be exited. Number two, I would say this: keep your rehabs in the moderate level. What I mean by that is 10 to 30% of the project's cost should be in your rehab. If you go less than 10%, you're not spending enough to the property to create value. If you go over 30%, you're spending too much to the property and probably ending up into structural componentry you may not get your money back out of. To give you an example, if you bought a house for $500,000, look to spend somewhere in the neighborhood of $100 to $150. If you bought a house for $500 and you're only going to put $20 into it, you're not creating value. And that's going to be really hard to resell and recoup a profit. By the same token, if you spend too much to the property, you're going to have roofing, HVAC, framing, and concrete. Those expenditures are very difficult to get your money back out of because they don't necessarily create value. So my second piece of advice to an investor is stay with rehab budgets that are in the moderate range. My third piece of advice is this: try to stay away from rehabs that involve a lot of permits, a lot of architecture, a lot of structural engineering, or a lot of professional services. The reason for that is finding structural engineers, architects, permits, draftsmen, engineering, all of these things. These people are, these trades are very, very busy today, very hard to find. They're usually backed up. And my advice to the investors, you're going to find that project being delayed, taking too long and too expensive with those types of processes, and it's going to eventually hamper your ability to turn a solid return on investment. My advice is to get into properties that are simpler, moderate, that you can get in and out of relatively quickly, that you can complete most of your work with a handyman, that's unpermittable, and exit that property relatively quickly. Look, it's all about speed. You want to get the property, you want to rehab it, and you want to resell it. Your return on investment is directly tied to the time you spend on that property. So if you get to the point where you need a structural engineer or you need an architect or you've got to pull permits, all of these things can take weeks, if not months, in order to accomplish. And with that, you're going to find that your return on investment is going to quickly drop because of the time you're going to expend in those avenues. Don't do it. Stay with a handyman and things that are quick and simple that you can get done at Home Depot. So median cost of housing, stay below that. And number two, stay in the range of 10 to 30% of the project acquisition cost for which you're going to rehab. Don't go super expensive and don't go super low. And then finally, try to stay away from permittable items, structural engineers, and architects. Those can delay your project inevitably and cause your ROI to drop substantially. I hope that helps you.